Have you ever thought of spending your holidays on the Balearic island of Mallorca? I don't mean package tour Mallorca and that stronghold of mass tourism at Palma, rather that Mallorca hidden away in the quiet, romantic regions. One of the nicest alternatives is to stay with the Mallorcan locals out in the countryside. We have therefore spent a bit of time hunting out the best fincas for you.
When you're fuming in yet another city traffic jam, about to be late for yet another appointment, do you sometimes yearn for some distant country where lemons grow and where spring, like a prelude, is already playing in the woods and meadows, and where an old family house will soothe and delight the senses? Mallorca is such a Garden of Eden. The image of it being solely for lobster-coloured beer swillers and other all-inclusive mass travel groups is ancient history. A rural setting is now quite the in thing, a quiet retreat for time to think. A holiday on the farm, that's the latest holiday option on Mallorca. A group of local farmers and landowners have set up an association to rent out their finest fincas. The intention is to give guests a chance to get a closer look at the culture, tradition and gastronomic specialities of the island. In the Canai, Nathalie's favourite finca, you can experience an unusually delicious mixture of nouvelle cuisine and plain, but far from ordinary fare. You can enjoy the authentic country lifestyle with the local population. The Spanish Comarabian-styled fincas are ideal for families with children and their friends. Other farmhouses are more suited to couples seeking a romantic retreat. Many of the country homes are located around the small mountain villages, ideally situated between the lemon and orange groves and often fairly near the sea. Anybody looking for complete seclusion will find it on the Tramuntana Plateau, Col de Seller, perfect for hikers. In fact, the largest Balearic island is ideal for people who like walking and want to discover the peaceful side of the island. The gnarled olive trees were actually planted by the Romans, and it was the Romans who gave the islands their names, Baleares Minor for Minorca and Baleares Major for Majorca. We think how peaceful it is here as we're walking around. It's difficult to believe that in the 15th and 16th century, civil war raged here almost the entire time. It wasn't until the 18th century that Mallorca's economy started to boom when the first tourists came to the island. Juan and Maria pamper their guests with freshly pressed fruit juices, herbs of every kind and homemade jams, which can also be bought for just a few pesetas if you're not staying there. Taking a break on a Spanish farm can be heartily recommended. Far from the worries of city life, you can build up your resources again. Anybody interested in renting a finca should contact the Spanish Tourist Office in Palma, Mallorca's capital. On the way to Porto d'Entraigues, we meet a large property owner and his family, and receive a regal reception from Juan Nigora on the patio of his parental home, definitely the most beautiful private finca on the island. The Nigoras are one of the richest families on Mallorca. Like all the locals, they're a little reserved but extremely hospitable. Miguel Nigora is president of the largest bank on the Balearic Islands and heads one of Mallorca's most exclusive golf clubs, Santa Ponsa. His finca resembles a Spanish castle, and just to walk around the property takes a good half an hour. Mallorca is a pearl of the Mediterranean. From Senor Negora's luxury yacht, we're now able to admire the island from the water. We glide past the magnificent sandy beaches and romantic bays as we head for the yacht harbour of Porto de Rijks, where top model Claudia Schiffer also spends her summer holidays. Here on the shore is one of the most beautiful of all hotels. It's not a finca, but a magnificent Italian villa, and it's here in the luxury Villa Italia that we savour the remaining days of the holiday in absolute bliss. The magnificent building, first built back in the 20s, was recently completely renovated. The family-run villa has 22 apartments, all of which are tastefully fitted. The furnishings include marble baths and halls, textile wall coverings and period furniture. We can wholeheartedly recommend the White Luxury Suite, which has a view of the harbour. A holiday in Villa Italia is definitely the nicest way to enjoy life on Mallorca. That enchanting island, as a poet once wrote, which each day opens up like a peacock's fan to display its full, colourful glory. What would romantic Mallorca be like without the memory of the Romantic period? In 1838, the ailing Polish composer Frédéric Chopin came to the sleepy mountain village of Valldemossa with his mistress, the French novelist Georges Sand, to improve his health in the mild climate of Mallorca. Chopin wrote to a friend, "Here in the monastery in Valldemossa, I am surrounded by glistening reddish walls and the perfume of myrtle and lemon trees. It must be one of the most magnificent locations imaginable." At the Carthusian monastery, Chopin and Georges Sand moved into 3 rooms in a monastic cell which reflected the Spartan life of the monks there.
The vases are still on the altars with their wilting flowers and the candelabra with their half-burnt candles.
This is what Georges Sand wrote in one of her most famous works, A Winter on Mallorca. And by the way, the original manuscripts are to be seen next to Chopin's notes and other mementos of the two in Valldemossa Monastery. And Georges Sand continued,
A rather pathetic piano completed the furnishings. It's the same piano on which Chopin composed those sheets which he modestly called Préludes. They are masterpieces.
Winter set in suddenly and was bleak and harsh. Chopin's tuberculosis got much worse. Nonetheless, it was at this time that he wrote his famous Raindrop Prélude, of which his lover wrote,
The composition was full of the sound of the raindrops which echoed as they bounced off the tiles of the Carthusian monastery. But in his imagination they'd become tears that fell from heaven into his heart.
Their stay in the cold, damp monastery became tortuous for the ailing Chopin. He began spitting blood. And when we listen to those melodious tunes in the concert auditorium, it's hard to believe that the genius that Frédéric Chopin was composed many of his masterpieces while he was going through hell, tortured by sleepless nights, fever, and fear of death. Georges Sand, who nursed him throughout his illness, was powerless to protect him from his fate. She wrote in farewell,
Our stay in the monastery, which was intended to be a romantic retreat, became a torture for him and agony for me.
The couple finally returned to Paris. It was there in his home at number 12 Place Vendôme that the great Polish composer died on the 17th of October 1849, just 39 years old. Innumerable mementos have remained in the Valldemossa monastery, as well as Chopin's unforgettable ballads, preludes and nocturnes which he composed here in Mallorca's serene surroundings. And he wrote of the island when he arrived, "This romantic valley is just one big garden, a sight that has captured my heart forever. Mallorca's brilliant sunshine knows no season, which is what makes the Balearic Islands so attractive to golf players. The Santa Ponsa Golf Club, about 18 kilometers to the south of Palma, is one of the most popular courses. And it's here that we meet Princess Birgitta, King Carl Gustaf of Sweden's sister. Each year, the Princess of Sweden trophy is played in her honor in Santa Ponsa. And if you're a golf player, you can take part too.
Golf is really the nicest sport around, because you can play it even when you're getting on a bit. I enjoy walking and the beautiful countryside, which is why I find that this sport really is ideal.
Then one cannot say that golf is a sport for old men.
Oh, no, absolutely not. An increasing number of young people are playing golf today.
Do your own children play golf?
No, they're an exception.
You have not always been a fan of Mallorca, from what I hear.
Yes, that's correct, because the island's image has not always been the best. But then a friend who's lived here for 15 years convinced me to come down here. Since then, I've always returned.
Your friend has even convinced you to live here in future?
Yeah.
And you are going to buy an apartment or a house?
I hope to, if possible, here in Santa Ponsa.
You are sister to the King of Sweden. Do you still go home sometimes?
Occasionally, but it should probably be a little more often, but that's the way it is.
Do you see your brother from time to time?
Yes, naturally. However, his royal business takes up so much time that it's not as often as one might wish.
But you have still not convinced him to come to Mallorca?
Not yet, but I'm working on him, because then I'll be able to see him more often.
Nathalie has arranged a game of golf with the princess. King Carl Gustaf of Sweden is at home, but also taking part is a man who usually avoids the limelight, although he has many fans all over the world, including Nathalie. The people on the island say that Majorca has two famous artists, Miro, who's dead, and Mordillo and his large-nosed characters, who've always been more famous anyway. The golf course is an ideal setting for Mordillo's ideas. And of course his cartoon figures are as mad about sport as he is. At my age, golf is ideal. I love nature, I'm out in the fresh air, and I always play with good friends. It provides a wonderful balance for my work, physically and psychologically.
Your career in Germany began with the magazine Stern, didn't it?
Yes, in Germany with Stern. My first cartoons were published in some leading French magazines such as Paris Match. The magazine is also read in Germany. And one day I received an order from Stern. Oh, that was back in 1968. After working for 48 years in Buenos Aires, the Argentinian cartoonist moved to the island of his dreams, where he's been living now for more than 15 years. It was in his studio in Mallorca that his famous little men were created. On calendars, postcards and posters, they bring pleasure to his fans all around the globe. The cartoons have even been made into films for TV and cinema. These drawings here have all been published in Germany, but some have also appeared in Japan, China, America, Yugoslavia and Turkey. Everybody understands my cartoons. Everybody understands what my pictures are saying. Even the Eskimos could laugh at them. Guillermo Mordillo's cartoons have been collector's items for some time. The artist puts his best ideas on paper, which are then, coincidentally, signed using a Faber-Castell pencil. The aristocratic Faber-Castell family has been producing the finest writing instruments for centuries. And it's a dynasty whose business is certainly worth writing home about, as you're about to see.
Where would an artist be without his tools of his trade? And apart from Mordillo, Van Gogh and other artists, poets and philosophers all loved the special pencils produced by the Castell family. Here I'm standing in front of the castle in Nuremberg, Germany. The Count invited us into his private kingdom, and hardly surprisingly, I discovered that the Pencil King's life is as colorful as his products.
The ancestral castle of the Counts of Faber-Castell, which was built in 1903, is proudly set in a magnificent park. The gigantic Art Nouveau monument is still reminiscent of the golden age of the German Industrial Revolution. Today, the Faber-Castell castle is used for art exhibitions, concerts, and private festivities. It was Lothar von Faber, one of the most important men in the company's 235-year-old history, who was responsible for inventing the famous green hexagonal-shaped pencil. And after his daughter married Count zu Castel-Rüdenhausen, the company became famous under its brand name of Faber-Castell. A fresh coat of paint can work wonders, and today's company boss, Anton Wolfgang Count von Faber-Castell, certainly knows how to take advantage of the positive effects of a bit of colour in his long-established company. We work with colours, and that's why we also want to bring a bit of colour into our working environment. Although not necessarily gaudy colours, but to relieve the working environment. We've asked a very well-known artist to help us implement this colour concept. This is intended to freshen up the company inside too, so the workplaces will also be improved.
Faber-Castell is one of the oldest companies in Europe, and you are, I believe, in the 8th generation of this company. Was it a difficult position to inherit at the time?
It was definitely a challenge. I don't believe that any inheritance that has such a long tradition is ever easy, but it has some very positive sides. You have a task that's very interesting. You have possibilities that you don't have to such an extent in a normal job. And working as an entrepreneur is, of course, risky and difficult, but with the right attitude, it also has a lot of interesting and positive aspects to it.
You are the sole boss and you have a number of companies abroad. How did you manage to do these things? Isn't it very difficult? A lot of stress?
Oh, my wife isn't sitting next to me at the moment. No, I don't think the travelling itself is the problem. Business trips, in my opinion, enable you to see things where they're happening, and a lot more clearly than is possible from the headquarters here in Germany. The one-to-one discussions in the subsidiaries are essential when you have an international business. The problem is that you don't leave enough time for your private life, for that extra day or so which one always intends to add on for pleasure. I always mean to do so, but it rarely works. In fact, I only ever manage it when I fly to the farthest point of the earth, such as Australia. And that's where my younger brother lives, and I always add on an extra weekend then.
Apart from Australia, you are also in Brazil a great deal for the company.
Yes, we have a very big plant there and a unique project for wood supply. We have our own reforesting program there, and our company processes pencils from reforested wood.
And how many pencils do you produce each year? Can we mention figures?
Yes, there's a figure that varies between 900 million and 1 billion pencils. There are hard and soft varieties. Children love them and artists can't do without them. With their pointed tip, they're always ready for use and there when you need them. This good old pencil is the evergreen in the pencil world. Count Tony successfully made it into an everyday cult item. But let's go back to the roots of the 400-year-old writing utensil, which in the beginning had absolutely nothing to do with colour or lead. The pencil actually consists of a graphite clay mixture, which results in the famous black that artists go on about so much. Even Vincent van Gogh wrote, "The pencils by Faber are the best. They have a dark green exterior and cost 20 cents apiece."
How good were you in drawing classes?
I wasn't bad at painting, as it's true, and I hope that this at least will come out in my daughter. She likes sketching and obviously has the right materials to her fingertips. It's really handy for her that in this case we have the company to go with it. This is actually unusual because in the old days the aristocracy went into industry far less than today, usually opting for farming, forestry, or earlier the army or church. I believe that the worst affected today are those people who own a large castle with high maintenance costs, but who have little land or forest resources.
Talking of castles, you have one too, but don't live there.
I don't live there because I know what the maintenance costs involve.
They are no doubt very high.
Well, they're still within our means because the castle isn't that old. But on the other hand, the maintenance costs are normally considerable, and also beyond reason for buildings of this size.
Have you ever lived in this castle?
No, I've never lived there, but my parents have lived there and my brothers and sisters. Personally, I only know the castle in its kind of sleeping beauty form, from which it's now been woken, but not yet totally.
Would you have liked to live there?
Under ideal circumstances, yes, but nowadays such circumstances are almost unattainable, because firstly, it's no longer possible to find the staff, and secondly, we'd have to do an awful lot to make the castle habitable in the way I'd like it.
Your castle actually became so well known because a film was set there. Fathers and Sons, isn't that right?
Yes, with Burt Lancaster.
Did that have any effect on the castle?
Yes, it had some positive effects because we did some restoration work for some shots. And that certainly brought some life back into the castle. We also tried to refurnish the rooms to reflect the era. And that definitely inspired the idea of the castle as a museum. I say museum on purpose, because it's hardly realistic to live there any longer. I prefer to live out in the country. The 10-minute drive up to the Count's country seat is a royal pleasure. The 350-year-old hunting lodge is about 20 kilometers away from the family castle, discreetly hidden on an extensive private park. The main house, which was recently extended, also comprises guest houses, stalls, and a restaurant. The Count and his American wife, Countess Mary, have created a highly stylish retreat for themselves and their 3 children, a retreat that is both tasteful and colourful. The house belonging to Count Faber-Castell, who enjoys his art collection and interior design hobbies when at home, is a perfect example of how one can combine old and new. And why should one replace good, proven antique quality when it's still in a respectable condition? That is the credo of the pencil magnate, who, in the Old English tradition, loves bespoke English suits, hand-stitched shoes, and a beautiful, well-looked-after home. Luxury in the context of homes. I think one should actually be happy when one can still obtain the necessary staff. And I'm afraid I can see a time coming when I'll be having to iron my own shirts again. Or start cooking, although that's a very nice hobby. Well, if you put luxury in the same category as comfort, then for me it's actually the possibility to visit nice hotels at any time in the year, to relax. And I've just stayed in one which you did a feature on recently. Now that's what I call a particular luxury. And what I dream about? Well, that reminds me of something that I'd regard as a greater luxury, something that I haven't done for a long time, and that's to find the time to hire a yacht. Not a sailing yacht, but a large motorboat on which I could spend 2 or 3 weeks each summer. Luxury in the form of objects is not something I find very important. They're not important when you already have them, and the Count's 30 rooms are full of exquisite objects. They're simply beautiful, and they're there. Yet of course, achieving a masterpiece with these charming little ornaments depends, as does a pencil, on the skilled hand that positions them.